At the conclusion of Original Sin, the initial joy of witnessing Wendy and the old Axe Cap gang nearly waltz off into the London night had turned into an image of sadness. Unsurprisingly, since Axe rejected their request for assistance in overthrowing Mike Prince, the Rebel Alliance, Wendy, Wags, and Taylor returned to the United States feeling completely defeated. Axe was not going to be coaxed back into the fold so easily, but his outrageous counsel to his departed colleagues helped Prince win the presidency was a clear indication that he may have something really significant planned. Axe may appear to be a New Zen version of himself, but it's evident that he's still sore, which indicates he's planning a major attack on his sworn enemy. My preliminary conclusion is that he needs Prince to win the presidency in order to carry out his own covert takeover scheme. Whatever Axe decides to do, I'm on board because Damian Lewis's comeback is exactly what Billion's last episode needed, even in his laid-back, English county squire style. It's not Corey Stoll's fault, but Mike Prince isn't a particularly interesting character, as I've already stated. It is Bobby Axelrod. Prince's deliberate lack of connection with his teammates is also a hindrance. The Axe scenes are terrific because Axe, Wendy, Wags, and Taylor make great scene partners rather than because Damian Lewis is in them. Chuck Rhoades also reclaimed his previous position in Original Sin, not as New York State's Attorney General, but rather from * checks notes * seasons 1 through 3, attorney for the United States in the Southern District of New York. The fact that he got there by engaging in classic Rhoades-style cunning planning made it interesting even though we've seen it all before. The question that now has to be answered is who will be successful in destroying Mike Prince because he, too, definitely has a plan of his own. Chuck, Axe, his Dade Mahar, newly formed Rebel Alliance? With 10 episodes left, it's too early to say. So Wendy, Wags, and Taylor travel to Axe's new base in the English countryside, where he now resides and conducts business in a castle akin to that found in Downton Abbey. The small Axe Global Company is led by Chip off the old block Gordy Axelrod, who also heads his daddy's blockchain section. Although Axe claims the new business isn't as lean and mean because he has already twice the $2 billion he had at the beginning. Everyone is impressed, but they flatter themselves excessively. Axe remarks, "You guys are laying this on thicker than a Carol K. Bass line." He naturally has his suspicions about their unexpected arrival and claims they are gathering information for Prince. Axe doesn't acknowledge that Wendy, Wags, and Taylor actually required his assistance until they meet down with him one-on-one. Chuck is working hard to have the allegations against him drop on the other side of the Atlantic, and thanks to the change in public sentiment from the previous week, he succeeds quite swiftly. But the unfortunate Dade Mahar is the real loser in this tale. She receives a severe rebuke from the court, who dismisses Chuck's case before Chuck, acting like an idiot, insults her by calling her profession, which he had previously held a few months earlier, Bush League. Mike Prince spends the entire episode pursuing Bradford Luke, a brilliant campaign manager. Luke is unique from everyone Prince has ever met because he's the only one who isn't eager to collaborate with him. Every other word Prince says is criticized, and he expresses anxiety over the billionaire's choice to run as an independent. In other words, Prince must make a good impression on Luke, rather than the other way around, and even then, there is no assurance that this James Carville protege will accept the position. And as it turns out, Luke's profitable and ethical investments that he put Michael Prince Capital through the ringer with were nothing more than a red herring. In Billions? Never. Later in the show, when it's time for Luke to delve further into Prince's extremely open marriage, the actual test of Prince's presidential mettle will take place. But first, since it's a fun one, let's dissect Chuck's scheme of the week. At the Dead Rabbit, Chuck meets with his old friend and co-worker Solicitor General Adam DiGiulio. Just a casual drink, please. Not in the case of Chuck Rhoades. Guy is requesting a favor once more, this time asking DiGiulio to petition the president to reinstate him in his Southern District of New York position. Chuck resorts to Plan B, which requires visiting a federal jail, after DiGiulio foretells that hell will certainly freeze over before the president accedes to this kind of request. Hey, Wayland Jock Jeffcoat, a former attorney general, is here, the person who first caused Chuck to be sacked from SDNY. Due to a manufactured entrapment by Chuck and his friends at the end of Season 4, Jock has been serving time in prison since then. However, if Jock agrees to Chuck's conditions, Chuck is willing to put the past behind him. If Jock publicly acknowledges that he was wrong to have Chuck fired, both Chuck and Jock can clear their own besmirched names. Chuck will have Jock released as soon as he has given his previous position back. Chuck has made some variation of this pitch probably dozens of times, but at least the writers of Billions seem to be aware of how overused it is. Clancy Brown's belly laugh, which lasted for 30 seconds, acted more as a stand-in for the worn-out Billions audience than anything else. Chuck then joins DiGiulio for a steak dinner at Peter Luger's as part of Billions' 7-season tour of New York's top restaurants and bars. In reality, Plan B was only a component of Plan A. As soon as DiGiulio tells Chuck that the president turned down his request to go back to Southern District of New York, Carl Allard, one of Chuck's minions, arrives with a laptop. There is a video of Jock doing exactly what Chuck ordered him to do in his prison cell, publicly admitting that he fired Charles Rhodes Jr. from his SDNY position in error. DiGiulio is utterly perplexed and wants to know how Chuck made this happen. Come on, man, how many times has Chuck pulled this kind of thing? It seems that all it took was a stunning new pair of black leather cowboy boots that Chuck himself had given her, along with the promise that Chuck's heartfelt opinion would only be seen by DiGiulio, I suppose. See, there are a few co-executive producers from 48 Hours, or so we're told, seated at Carl's table, and they seem quite interested in broadcasting this video of a contrite Jock all over CBS. It's time for an order. After the 48 Hours episode airs, DiGiulio can either go back to the president and beg him to reinstate Chuck, or the president can seem foolish for not doing it in the first place. The ploy succeeds. Chuck receives a call from the president shortly after, and it is safe to believe that the Jock footage was never broadcast. Back in England, over fireside conversations and glasses of Michter's, Wendy, Wags, and Taylor each make their difficult sales pitches to Axe. Most of them appeal to Axe's propensity for harboring resentments. How could he possibly watch Mike Prince wreck the company that Axe spent years creating from scratch, along with more than a few dishonest schemes along the way? However, Axe concludes by saying, "It ain't me, babe." He's just too hurt from past setbacks and doesn't want to put himself in another precarious situation. It's not that he feels his pals are incorrect about Prince. Additionally, he has a better suggestion. Why don't Wendy, Wags, and Taylor remain and join Axe Global? Despite the fact that it is a fairly great offer, Wags and Taylor have some even better justifications for not escaping to the land of warm beer and no air conditioning. This leads me back to Axe's perplexing final remarks, encouraging his friends to support Prince's election. Wendy's expression of WTF is just perfect. It seems to be a hint for something he's cooking up. However, Prince and his wife Andy must first give Bradford Luke the performance of their life before Prince can even consider running, to demonstrate that they are a conventional married pair. Not simple when they are frantically attempting to make the toilet at Prince's Manhattan house appear to be occupied by two people and require Molly to engage in sexual activity. Even though Andy and Prince reveal to Luke early on that they are living separately, he isn't duped for a second by their sweet facade. Luke also realizes right away that every single one of Andy's cosmetics in the medicine cabinet is brand new. The fact that Andy and Prince's marriage was openly acknowledged after Luke overheard a whisper about it. Therefore, Mr. and Mrs. Prince must take the monogamy train to the White House if they wish to reside there. Ignore Luke's hypocrisy in this situation. Are Americans unable to accept a first couple with an arrangement? One could argue that in this nation, you can't even run for president without at least one sex scandal. From the time Luke questions Andy and Prince about their unusual marriage, this scene is hilarious. The way Corey Stoll swiftly releases his grip on Piper Perebo's shoulders after catching them was the nicest touch. Luke urges them to make lists on each other's phones of all the people they've had sex with in the past 5 years, but nothing beats their amicable, "I'm counting" expressions. They followed Samantha Jones' strategy exactly as they combed through their minds for possible names. It appears that Bradford Luke has everything necessary to join the Prince campaign. Mike Prince declares his candidature for president in front of the American flag and a photo-worthy crowd of admirers, his beaming wife by his side. It's a gruesome sight. Just in time for Chuck to enter his old office at SDNY with his own ideas for preserving freedom. I'm genuinely curious about what Axe is planning now. Nice Easter egg in Jock Jeffcoat's Cell, Stephen King's Different Seasons, which contains the novella The Shawshank Redemption, is one of Jock's nighttime readings. In the film adaptation, Clancy Brown portrayed the cruel prison guard captain Byron Hadley.